Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wolfe Pit with another episode of What Are We Eating? McDonald's Big Breakfast with Hotcakes. I've never had it. I've had the regular Big Breakfast, and I've had the Hotcakes with Sausage Breakfast, but I've never had it all together. Well today, that's going to change, and I'm going to add some sweet to savory and try McDonald's Big Breakfast with Hotcakes and find out exactly what we're eating. Fill up with a warm biscuit, savory hot sausage, fluffy scrambled eggs, crispy hash browns, and golden brown hotcakes with a side of real butter and the sweet flavor of maple. Or for a different taste, try it with freshly grilled egg whites. The hotcakes? Well, they're made with stuff that makes hotcakes, I guess. I've never made homemade hotcakes, so it all looks good to me. If I'm missing something bad, please let me know. For 3 hotcakes, there's 330 calories, 8 grams of total fat, 1.5 grams of saturated fat, no trans fat, 15 milligrams of cholesterol, 530 milligrams of sodium, 56 carbohydrates, 2 grams of fiber, 12 grams of sugars, and 9 grams of protein. The scrambled eggs are simply eggs and citric acid. The citric acid is mainly a preservative, but it also gives some flavor. The scrambled eggs are equivalent to 2 whole eggs, which have 130 calories, 8 grams of total fat, 3 grams of saturated fat, no trans fat, 420 milligrams of cholesterol, 120 milligrams of sodium, 1 carbohydrate, no fiber, no sugars, and 13 grams of protein. The biscuits? Well, they contain a lot more ingredients than my grandmother's biscuits did. I actually read that although the mix comes in a bag and is mixed with water and butter, they actually mix, roll out, cut, and bake the biscuits every morning. And I read that on the internet, so you know it's got to be true. Per biscuit, there's 260 calories, 11 grams of total fat, 6 grams of saturated fat, no trans fat, no cholesterol, 760 milligrams of sodium, 36 carbohydrates, 2 grams of fiber, 2 grams of sugars, and 5 grams of protein. The sausage patty, which I remember as a kid sitting in McDonald's with my father eating, and I bit down on a bone or a piece of cartilage in the sausage, and I screamed like a stuck pig. Worst toothache to this day that I've ever had. But the ingredients in the sausage patty are super simple. Per sausage patty, there's 190 calories, 18 grams of total fat, 6 grams of saturated fat, no trans fat, 35 milligrams of cholesterol, 280 milligrams of sodium, 1 carbohydrate, no fiber, no sugars, and 7 grams of protein. In the hash browns, I see just like in the McDonald's French fries, that they add beef flavor. Again, I'm going to assume that they do this in an attempt to mimic the flavor of the beef tallow that McDonald's used to fry their foods in that made them world famous. Per hash brown, there's 150 calories, 9 grams of total fat, 1.5 grams of saturated fat, no trans fat, no cholesterol, 320 milligrams of sodium, 16 carbohydrates, 1 gram of fiber, no sugars, and 1 gram of protein. I'll add up all the nutrition numbers at the end. So let's dig into our McDonald's Big Breakfast with Hotcakes. As you guys already know, I usually don't eat this junk. But I gotta admit, on this day, it was my breakfast. My daughter had a bunch of friends spend the night, and we had a busy morning, and I had no time to make breakfast. And they wanted McDonald's. So I went to McDonald's and I got 5 big breakfasts with hotcakes, which was the biggest and most expensive order I've ever had from McDonald's, almost $30. There's our hash brown. And there's our biscuit, our eggs, our sausage, and our 3 hotcakes. I wanted to try the hash browns first before they got cold. And even though I got this about 10 minutes ago, everything was still warm. McDonald's hash browns are really good when you get them piping hot and crispy. This one wasn't super crispy, but that's not McDonald's fault since I brought it home. But it was still pretty darn good. Good enough to take one more bite. While the hotcakes were still pretty warm, I wanted to add some of the salted whipped butter. Which is what it is, butter. Per butter packet, there's 80 calories, 9 grams of total fat, 5 grams of saturated fat, no trans fat, 25 milligrams of cholesterol, 75 milligrams of sodium, no carbohydrates, no fiber, no sugars, and no protein. And if you're like me, you might want to go ahead and multiply everything times 3. Because I use 1 pack of butter for each pancake. Yikes! So while the butter was soaking in, I tried the eggs. And McDonald's advertises fluffy eggs. But these are as far from fluffy as you can get, just like Fluffy himself. The eggs were okay, pretty bland. But that's what salt and pepper are for. but I had to have another bite. After all, this really was my breakfast. Then onto the sausage, which I've always liked from McDonald's, except for the time it crushed my tooth. McDonald's sausage has a good amount of fat, as you can tell, which I personally like. It adds flavor and moisture. There's nothing worse than dry, bland sausage. The sausage was still warm and pretty tasty. I really like the sausage, but I already knew I would. I waited to add the syrup to the hotcakes so they didn't get soggy. But this is anything but maple syrup. But they don't say it's maple syrup anyway. They call it hotcake syrup. We didn't really expect real maple syrup, did we? One packet of syrup has 190 calories, no fats, no cholesterol, no sodium, 46 carbohydrates, no fiber, 33 grams of sugars, and no protein. I only use one packet of the syrup. I really gotta watch my Adonis-like physique. I cut a big bite of the hotcakes. And it was actually too big, even for my big mouth, so I had to cut it in half. I'm not a big pancake fan to begin with, but I've always loved how McDonald's pancakes smell like cake. And I gotta admit, they did taste pretty darn good. I took one more bite with a piece of sausage. A makeshift sausage McGriddle, if you will. And of course it was good. Anything that's already good is better with pork. Finally, for the biscuit. When I used to get the big breakfast years ago, I would always put the sausage and half the eggs on the biscuit along with grape jelly. I know what you're saying. Why don't you just go ahead and order a sausage and egg biscuit? Because I think there's more eggs in the big breakfast platter. So I did it for the eggs, like I do these videos, for you, the people. So I put everything together except the grape jelly. I forgot it while I was at McDonald's and I didn't have any at home. I took a big bite, and of course, everything together was good. The biscuit was fresh, moist, and buttery. Before I give you my final thoughts, here's the numbers for the whole big breakfast with hotcakes, with only one packet of butter and one packet of syrup. There's 1,330 calories, 63 grams of total fat, 24 grams of saturated fat, 0.5 grams of trans fat, 500 milligrams of cholesterol, 2,090 milligrams of sodium, 155 carbohydrates, 6 grams of fiber, 48 grams of sugars, and 35 grams of protein. From a nutrition standpoint, this is probably one of the worst fast food breakfasts you can eat on its own. But is it really any worse than going to a breakfast buffet? No, it's probably health food compared to what you would get at a breakfast buffet, and you'll eat less food. The bottom line is, if you eat the McDonald's big breakfast with hotcakes, or go to a breakfast buffet often, you're going to pay the price health-wise. But that's the case with anything. Moderation is key. Eat at McDonald's or a breakfast buffet once in a while, and you'll be fine. Eat there every day, you're not going to be fine. But that's just my opinion. But I'm no doctor, so take my opinion with a grain of salt. Now, from a taste standpoint, the whole meal was pretty darn good. After you saw me take the first bite, I only took one more bite of hotcakes and I tossed the rest. Like I said, I'm not really a big fan of pancakes, but I did eat all of the biscuit, which was fresh and buttery, all of the sausage patty, which was good as it usually is, all of the hash browns, which weren't perfect, but still pretty darn good, and I even ate all the eggs, which to me was the most underwhelming part of the meal. Overall, it was a good tasting, convenient meal that I enjoyed, but I could have done without the pancakes. I'll stick just to the big breakfast next time. Put the bad nutrition aside, and I'm going to give McDonald's big breakfast with hotcakes a strong 7 out of 10. I wouldn't rush out to get this again, but if you're in a hurry like I was one morning with 3 hungry teenagers, pick 3 up for them, 1 for yourself, and 1 for your significant other. If you'd like to help support the Wolfe Pit, consider being a patron. You can pledge as little as $1 a month, that's only $12 for the whole year, or you can pledge more. That's up to you. Either way, every little bit's appreciated and helps me produce more high-quality videos more often for you, the people. Thank you all very much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.